Hi there, you're watching the Gardens and Graveyards channel. My name is Charisma and today we're in the garden and we're going to start a new series, and it's going to be all about abundance in the garden. And the first video is going to be about saving seeds. What do I mean by abundance in the garden? I mean creating a garden that's filled with all of your favorite flowers, shrubs, trees, perennials, ground covers, you name it. If it's growing and green, it's in your garden and you love it and you want more of it. And these are easy, typically free ways that you can create these, create more plants in your garden. And what I'm going to cover in this series is saving seeds, divisions, cuttings, plant exchange, and then at the end, wait for it, I'm going to do a full garden tour of all the freebies in my garden. There's a lot. So today, the first day of the series is, I'll be releasing these on Friday afternoons like I did the last series. So today we're going to save seeds. Obviously, I can't save all the seeds that there is available to save in the garden today because they're not all ready. They come into fruition at different times of the year, but there's actually quite a few ready today that I can share with you. And there's a few on the dining room table just drying and waiting to be put away. And I'll also share with you how I save my seeds. So with no further ado, let's get into it. These are the second blooms of these beautiful lupines, and I let their last blooms go to seed. So you could see that here and here. Now, one of the most important things you want to do when you're saving your seeds is make sure that you label them so you know exactly which ones you're saving. So I'm actually going to take one moment and clip this one first and put it with the other pink seeds that I already have saved, and put this in a separate container with a yellow sticker on it because I don't want them to be confused. I may decide to blend them in the future, but until I make that decision, I don't want them to be confused. So to clip these seeds, first I'm just going to go ahead and take off the whole head. So I'm just going to take it off down to here where it meets the crotch of the branch. Now, these are all the pink seeds. I could save them just like this, let them dry a little bit longer. I could crack these and take the seeds out. See if I could do it one-handed, I don't know. It's best to dry them and remove the seeds. And that's what the seeds look like inside there. And then put those seeds inside of a paper envelope or a glass jar and save them that way. Only because when you save them in their pods, they can end up getting some moisture trapped in there, and they end up with mildew or mold, and then they're basically worthless. So today I'm not going to crack them all. I'm just going to bring them in, label them, and I'll get to cracking them another day. For right now, I just want to show you how I save them. So here you can see where I've saved some pink delphiniums already. There's the yellow lupines, the pink lupines. These are some pincushion flowers. And we have lovage seeds drying and breadseed poppies. And then this is another way you can save your breadseed poppies in a decorative way. Another way to save seeds without actually saving them, or to use seeds in abundance in your garden, is by letting plants go to seed. So I let this blue-eye grass go to seed, and there's nothing left in its seed pods here because they've all dropped into the ground in the surrounding area. And I know that come next spring, this little clump of grass will be that much bigger because see how it kind of like splays out, and then it'll turn into a seed, or this seed pod dropped down over here and just it slowly clumps out that way. And that's one way that you can use seeds in your garden without actually having to save the actual seeds if you wanted to go that route. But be aware, some plants self-seed prolifically. So this is my rose campium, and everything with this like blue-gray fuzzy leaf is all rose campium. And that's these beautiful magenta flowers right here. And these are their seed heads. This one's not quite ripe. See if I can find one. This is a seed head right here. And it pops open and it'll drop. Well, this seed's still green inside, but these turn brown and they'll drop on the ground and then create a bunch of new plants. And these were all self-seeded. None of the rose campium in this particular area was planted here. I do have three on purpose. One way over there by the driveway, one down in the medicine garden, and one at the end of our property line there. And every other piece of rose campium you see in the garden is self-seeded. So I happen to absolutely adore this plant. It looks kind of like sad right now because it's at the end of its season, but I really don't mind it everywhere. It gives it that full cottage garden look that I absolutely adore. But you could see every single one of these becomes a seed. And yes, I could collect these and save them and give them away, I suppose. But they actually do great by division, and I'd rather give people plants than seeds, so that's what I typically do with these guys. Here you can see a variegated Columbine that has gone to seed, and these seeds have actually dropped out. Sometimes I could hear them. I'm a little late on gathering seeds from this one. But this is what their seed heads look like. And you can certainly collect them and save them and plant them. But these have already dropped into the ground somewhere around, which is fine. I have another one over here that does not have a seed head. Then this one was, I actually, last year, when that seed head came available, I just took it over here and shook it and created a new plant. I have another example of self-seeded Columbine over here, where I planted this one and this one, but I have several little babies in here. So I will eventually have a nice big clump of, there's several over there. And those are probably all from this year's blooms when I did not collect seeds and I just let them go to seed in the garden. Here's another fun example of self-seeded plants. This is Pearly Everlasting with the white blooms there, and I cut down most of the plant because I'm gonna make some divisions. I want to see how they transplant by division, but I did leave a few here to let them go to seed because I've never actually grown this plant. This was a volunteer. It came from a bird. So thank you, Mother Nature. Our neighbor has a big, huge swath of these, so I know where it came from, but it's like in this very strange place in the middle of our hosta bed, and it actually covered up part of that hosta most of the summer, so it's not in an ideal spot. I want to move it. I love it. It makes a great dried flower and a tasty tea, but that's a totally free seed, and You know, a bird dropped some seeds in there and we let it go and discovered that it's a beautiful plant that we love. So sometimes it's worth letting your weeds, your so-called weeds, go to see what they really are and if they're worth keeping. Something to note is some plants will readily go to seed. This is Crocosmia, but I've never had this plant spread by seed. It spreads by its corms way faster and way better. So dividing this plant gives me instant results. And things like roses. I could collect these rose hips and collect the seeds out of them and attempt to grow a new rose. But this plant will grow by cuttings far quicker than it takes for a rose seed to take hold. So even though your plant has seeds, it may not be the best option for propagation. So make sure you do a little research for your plants and discover which ones work best with seeds. Seed saving versus cuttings versus divisions. Here is an example of, these are Shasta daisies, or excuse me, these are oxeye daisies, and they have plants that look like this. You see little baby ones there and there. Originally, we only had this one Shasta daisy in our garden when we moved in here. We let it go to seed, and we continue letting it go to seed, and you can see them dotted all throughout the garden now. And we like it because we like that cottage look. But again, just be very careful of what you let go to seed. Here is a Cleome that's going to seed, but I have to wait a little longer for them to dry on the plant and develop their little seed pods a little bit more before they're ready to harvest. So that's just an example of what you're looking for. The flower blooms are still blooming and they're starting to produce their seed, but I'm going to wait until those seed pods are a little bit more bulky and brown before I actually pick them. Okay, here is a foxglove. Fantastic example. So this foxglove is done blooming. It's starting to develop its seed here. See how they're a little bit green? And then you come over here and these ones have already opened up and there's nothing left inside. But this one, you can hear. You can hear them raining out of there. And so one of the ways that I get more foxgloves in my garden is by going ahead and clipping one of these seed heads off. So now I have my seed head, and I'll go to a different part of my garden, and I'm fine with it being right here. And I'll just shake, 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 shake until, and maybe do a little bit of this until I feel like they've released all their seeds. And I can't hear them rattling around anymore, so I'm pretty sure that I've thrown some seeds out there. I could just bend it over, shake it a little bit, that's fine. Or if I want them to be in a completely different area, I could clip them, take them somewhere else and shake them. And I'll show you an example of when I did that on another occasion. Here I've collected some walking Egyptian onion seed heads, and walking Egyptian onions look like this in the ground. And what they do is they create little onions off of their seed heads. They get super heavy and they bend over and land in the soil, and then they'll plant themselves right there and create new plants. I would like to create more plants in a different part of my garden. So I collected these heads and I'm going to take their bulbs and plant them in the ground. Now I could plant each individual bulb, or I could do it more like it would naturally do with all of its bulblets intact and put those in the ground. Either way, you can have more plants. Here in the medicine garden, I have 2 more examples of self-seeded plants. All of this verbena. I had one plant planted right there. There's not even a plant there anymore. They've migrated up to the upper tiers, and then last year they started to go to seed. You can kind of see some browning on that bunch right there, and I bent it over, and now I have this bunch. This whole patch right here is all of the same verbena, and that's great with me. The nasturtiums, I've showed you this in many videos. All of the nasturtiums in my medicine garden were originally planted as seeds in the baskets above 2 years ago, and for 2 years I've continued to get nasturtiums in this area because they drop their seeds, they replant themselves, and I have more seeds or more plants for the following summer, which is a great little cycle. Here I have some bronze fennel. It is not ready to be picked yet. Those flowers are they still have green on them, greeny yellow color on them. I'm waiting for them to turn brown and harden before I pick them for seed. All right, so I said I show you some more of the foxglove. So those tall spiky flowers right there are, these things are foxgloves. Now those were there. Actually, there was only one there when I moved in here. Actually, when I moved in here, this was a staircase. We tore out the staircase and there was a foxglove living underneath it. We let it go to seed, and now we have multiple foxgloves. Then I took some of their seed heads and I came over here and I shook them all over this bank. And you can't see it really well because they're all done, but you could see some of their remnants here are from that same foxglove. And foxgloves are biennial, which means the seeds from this plant will have dropped. They'll create a little plant like this. This is the first year plant. And then next year, this plant will have a bloom stalk. So you could see all of these were from last year. So this is their first year growing a plant. And next year they'll grow a flower. And then they'll seed, and so on and so on. Okay, I have a few seed pods right here, not ready to be picked. You see how green they are, but they've bulked up. They're pretty fat, and they're getting really close. They're hardened, and as soon as they turn a little bit brown, I can pick them. Now, if I feel like I'm gonna go into really cold weather or it's gonna rain a whole lot, I could pick them now, put them under my porch, and hope that they'll dry that way. But those belong to these sweet peas, and all of these sweet peas were from seeds that I saved last year. So I bought a packet of seeds. They grew and flowered, and then they created a bunch of seed heads, and I waited for them to brown. See, this one's really flat compared to the ones that are more developed back here that I just showed you. So that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the seeds to bulk up inside their little pods. And then I could save them and plant them again next year. So the cycle continues. Okay, I have lots of flowers in here that I can collect seeds from. So I have this buttercream nasturtium that has all of these little seeds. Again, you want to wait for them to be a little bit brown before you actually pick them. But man, it's a quick draw because they'll go brown and drop super fast before you can even get out to them. You notice them green and then they're gone. So watch carefully if you want them in other parts of your garden. This calendula self-seeds itself all summer long, continuous blooms. These beautiful poppies. This is the poppy head, or the seed head. This one is not quite ready for picking, but I think some of these are. See, this one it's lost its like really beautiful blue, like these blue colors. It starts to turn like this. I could probably pick it now. It's a little bit soft, but it's really fun about these. When they're ready to be picked, they'll have a rattle. So this one wasn't actually ready. Can you hear that? Those ones are much closer to being ready to be picked. And let's see, what other seeds do we have out here? Oh, this fennel might actually have a couple of heads I could pick. This one, for example, is starting to look really good. The heads have hardened. Like this one is close, but they're a little bit green and they're soft. Well, this one's all like kind of hard. So that's very, very close, but I would like it to be just a little bit more brown. Let's see if any of these are ready. You could see all those little seeds in there. So I have so many that I could actually just go ahead and collect the few that have seeds ready so that I could save them. Because obviously I don't need a million seeds. This is one plant. It has, I don't know, a couple hundred flowers on it. So if I just saved this one head for seeds, and I could save the rest of them for tea or whatever, or, you know, maybe dried flowers or something like that. So I keep all of my seeds and bulbs in a refrigerator that's kept in my garage. I label all my seeds by the month that they get planted, and I keep them in glass jars in the door of the refrigerator, and that works great for me. So I hope that gave you an idea of how you can collect seeds to create more abundance in your garden, and inspired you to get out there and let your flowers go to seed. Leave some of the flowers on there, let them go all the way to seed to collect, and replant them or let them self-seed if you want a bigger clump, or if you want to put them someplace else. It's a lot of fun and an easy way to create more plants in the garden. So until the next time, keep celebrating life. Bye.